Alright, just going to try a little experiment here. Response video to the one and all guy. Made a couple of videos sort of on my economics of value stuff. And, and I ridiculed him for using economics as a metaphor for trying to define what we are, what the value of life is on in the universe, what its productions and what its consumptions really are in terms of something of real value. So anyway, this whole equation thing gets complicated. So I'm not going to play this video, but it's, there's a lot of stuff in there I don't think there's any point in us arguing through because we're using different metaphors. And we're defining words different, which is really a problem too. So we started using a word like deprivation to describe the vacuum or the neutral state, and that's not really the neutral state, as I heard what he was saying anyway. So anyway, let's, it's a value equation. So let's just call value something. So we'll just call it some sort of net production or net efficiency. So we'll go with NP though. That's a good. And well, it's too high. I gotta do it down here. And oh man, I cannot draw anymore. Holy crap, that's really bad. I'm jittery. Stroke thing or something. All right, so the NP, and we're going to figure out what the equal thing is. What's it come down to? What equals what? So if we use NP as what we're after, like some sort of definition of more positive or more negative. Some sort of definitive description of whether you are a black number or a red number in terms of your existence. And so you got to understand these are going to be really lame pictures, but whatever, it doesn't matter. It's the first experiment. So your existence is what? It's made up of your experiences. So we call that E for your, and we'll use YE for your experiences. So there we have a term. Okay, and then what else is there? There's your impact, let's call it. Okay, so the other one is your impact. So we use YI. All right, so you have an impact. You experience that has a quality. Your experiences, and in your living, you impact the world around you, other organisms that are experiencing, and you cause them to have good or bad experiences based on your impact in the world. Like right now, I could theoretically, assassinate President Obama. And obviously it's against the social contract, but I just mean theoretically, say Obama was going to do something preposterously evil or stupid or dumb. And so I intervened and stopped this preposterously stupid thing from happening that would have had all these negative consequences into the future. Then obviously the net of my existence would be incredibly enhanced because I was a key cog or a key element in this happening. Because I acted instead of not acting. And obviously, but we're stuck in a position where we just don't know what the action is. What is the most productive thing for me to be doing at this very moment to optimize how much, not only what I'm feeling, but my impact on the world. So, your experiences and your impact. There probably should be some other letter in there just to define that it's a value equation. So it's your experience. So we just put V. So value of your experience versus value of your impact. Maybe something like that. But I don't know. That might not work either. So I have to fix that too. So anyway, but so let's try to actually do the A plus B equals C thing. And put this into some sort of number so we can understand, or some sort of definition. I'm running out of space here. So we'll use it to the space over here. Yeah, out of the box. Sorry, the lame video, but it's good. I think it's good. Drawing pictures is good. You can do like little cats and things, and people like that, little cat pictures. Man, I can't believe how I'm really a mess. Well, anyway, no, we don't need to draw little cat pictures. Anyway, where was I? Okay. So let's define it. Let's say that you just take your day and cut every 5 minutes off of your day. Like just cut it into 5-minute segments. Something you can quantify, and you can just sit there and define the value of that experiential 5 minutes. And so like this 5 minutes right now, I would say is experientially worth nothing because my brain is really occupied. I'm trying to think. I'm completely preoccupied. So personally, I'm not really experiencing anything. I'm not having a good feeling or a bad feeling. I'm really in the neutral state just because I'm completely outside of the zone of experiencing. I'm not experiencing. But there'll be another state later where I might get depressed. There'll be another state where I'm really unsettled and feel sick and not comfortable. And there'll be some other state later where maybe I'll fantasize and it'll be good. And Miss Pac-Man, I'll be doing something fun. But whatever. I mean, so there'll be all these little 5-minute hunks. And we could take those and we could just do the math for ourselves, for our own day. and we could just add up the value, of all the little 5-minute pieces, and we could come up with a net, number of, and say there was this many goods or this many bads. But the problem is that they'll obviously have weight. So that's the other trick to this thing, because you could have a really bad 5 minutes that has real density and mass. And so then you have to do a little bit of this, you have to do a little bit of math inside the math, because you're going to have to realize that some of these little 5 minutes are going to have really big negative signs, and some might have little tiny positive signs, or they might have a big positive sign and a bunch of little tiny negative signs. And so there's math within inside of that math, because we have to establish that weight, and that weighting is really the tricky part. That's where all this is going to, that's the real hang in this whole thing, is weighting the value of those 5 minutes of experience. And so my argument is more based on the fact that I think if we really analyze what we feel, that all the positive experiences are really made out of what are net negative experiences that we have. Before you experience the positive, you have some sort of tensions and unpleasantness and irritations and all the rest of the stuff that's sort of made out of. That deprivation isn't a good thing. It's inherently a rather gnawing circumstance, generally speaking. Let's see, where am I going with that? Yeah, but it does get complicated, because there are, like, being hungry is sort of a, just a little hungry is a nice feeling. You feel, and it feels good to satisfy it. And, but is it worth a migraine headache for an hour? Is that experience worth the other experience? And those are the real hard definitions to establish, because it does seem like each individual subject somehow comes up with a different definition, which I don't entirely understand how they do that, because it seems obvious to me. I mean, I don't have a whole lot of trouble figuring out what I'm willing to pay for things, and it just seems surprising that other people are willing to pay so much more for what I would consider, good feelings, but not good enough to justify. So anyway, I don't want to bog this down inside that that's only one part of the equation. So the other part of the equation is that these other influences, the world, the people, we're affecting each other all the time. And so we don't only have the number, so we'll use A as we'll call this the the value of your experience, and then we have the value of your influence, and so that's the other one to figure out, and it's got to be done based on that net number in a way, and based on what's the if you take it to its furthest permutation, in the end game, what's going to be your impact in the world, and that gets complicated because we have to have all these little subtle impacts, like we all contribute to capitalism because we don't burn it down. We don't jump in front of the tank, so to speak. So we have culpability for all the things we don't do that we could have done, which is a little hard to assess. The value of that. I mean, how much of a contributor to the negative are you because you didn't do anything? And then there's the other side to that, which is the ones where we do act, and where we could have not acted. We could have done something else that would be more efficient or would have been better for the future. And that has its influence. The actions have the echo of your action into the future. And so again, there's another hard assessment to make, but this really is how you define the end number. And I guess what I'm saying is there's also this that's for you as an individual to define the value of your life. So in my opinion, it becomes quite obvious that the most good you can do, the highest productivity, is to get rid of the most massive discomforts, the heaviest experiential negative moments that exist in the world. Because all these moments, yours, theirs, doesn't matter. They all have the same substance as a universal truth. And I guess that's part of the underlying premise of this conversation, is an acceptance of that premise, that it doesn't matter who's doing the suffering. It doesn't matter whether his name's Wang Pang or George Bush. It really doesn't matter. All that matters is that a human being is experiencing it. I was sort of thinking, too, how religions, that's where they all really fail a lot, is that they've really personalized the equation. They make it a personal hell and a personal heaven. And the Buddhists, I guess, sort of have done a little better than that. Because what the crime, the sin, should always be understood as a sin against the human species, or a sin against conscious life, because that's where the equation is. That sin against, all future human history, because that's really what you're committing a crime against when you're going to even define a crime. There's really it's not a matter of being a sinner. It's a matter of being a breaker, a destroyer. And it's got to be seen that's just, to me, the rational context. And that's where a lot of, like I said, religions fail, is because they personalize it like it's some sort of, like you're irrelevant to the society, and all you're trying to do is serve the expectations of some god. And really what you're doing is you're either obedient to your responsibilities to consciousness, or you're sinning against that by being obsessed with one selfish, tiny little grain of sand in the beach kind of thing. Yeah, all right. That's probably enough of a video, but this is this completely useless mess. But, you know, it's the first try, so at least I figured out I can write on here now, so I can just do all kinds of writing. But I don't know really how to spell anything, so I couldn't write words. If I can do symbols, like, yeah, fuck you symbol here, I can do that. But anyway, yeah, that's really enough video. I'm tired. Probably should have waited till tomorrow to do this one, but it doesn't matter. I mean, let's continue the conversation, but I don't, yeah, I didn't get your diagram. Your diagrams sort of look like this to me, so that's a problem. Anyway, till next time.